Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could all join us. I'm Barbara Way. I am the director of the Front Royal Women's Resource Center. And today we have Patty Fadeley, who is going to talk to us about Blue Ridge Hospice. But since this is our, this takes the place of our Women in Networking regular Zoom get together, I'm going to ask if you feel comfortable to unmute yourself and start your videos, and we can actually pretend we're all in the same room and introduce ourselves. Anyway, that's what we're going to do. So thank you all for joining. I'm so glad you're here. It's so nice to see your faces. I know we're starting to like see people here and there, but I tell you what, I know people complain about Zoom, but I just am so happy to see people.
Amen to that.
I don't complain, I really don't, so thanks for joining. I'm not going to spend too much time about me. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, and I'll do a quick intro of Patty, and I'll let her take it from there. But I'm just going to go around the screen, and the next person I see is Karen. So Karen, if you want to just introduce yourself and do a little 30-minute intro, and I know you have interesting things going on, so.
Okay, thank you. I'm throwing some information in the chat for people who aren't familiar with our programs. I'm Karen Poff with Virginia Cooperative Extension, and my role with Extension is to teach financial management, teach people how to manage their money. We have lots of workshops and classes and programs for people. I guess the one that I'm promoting the most right now is the Quick Money Chats. So it's really a marketing technique more than anything else, is to try to get people to engage and ask questions about financial management. So there's a landing page that's in the chat, and people can go there and just put in their contact information and their question, and either myself or a volunteer will contact them back and answer their question. So it's just a way for people to know that they're getting credible, trustworthy, unbiased information from somebody who's not trying to sell them something. And then there's also a link to our email list there. If you want to get information on upcoming programs, that list only gets emailed like every other month or something. It's not going to fill up your inbox, but when having classes upcoming or things like that, you would get a notification in your email that those things are happening. So glad to be here. I'm really looking forward to hearing Patty. I actually had another mandatory meeting at 11 that I thought was going to run into this, and I wasn't going to be able to be here, but I'm so glad it ended at 11:55. So yay. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen. Susan, you want to introduce yourself?
If you can hear me, I'm not very good on iPads.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, good. Well, I'm Susan O'Kelly. I'm delighted to know that Patty is going to be joining us today. As Patty knows, I'm a retired chaplain from Blue Ridge Hospice. I was there for 12 years, and I'm now retired for a couple of years, coming on 3, and I'm a volunteer. So I'll put a plug for Patty, and if you want to volunteer, we'd love to have you. Thanks.
Send your check later, Susan.
Thanks.
Kathy, I'm so glad to see your face.
Thanks, Barbara. I am a very newly retired nurse. I finished my career as a school nurse at AS Rhodes. And so this is the first time I get a chance to spend some time with you, even if it's on Zoom. And just want to say that Susan led us to hospice after we lost our son, and our granddaughter, now daughter, has gone to Camp Hope a couple of times. I think it is fabulous. I connect with you about the ideas I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, can I also say that I may have to reboot here because my internet's a little unstable. So if I disappear, I'll be right back.
We get that. We totally get that. That's normal operating procedure here in Zoom land. Lee, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, hi, I'm Lee Meyer. I'm sorry, I must appear quite dark, but I'm out on the porch where it's nice and shady, but not great light. But that's probably good because I've been working in the garden all morning, and it's better if you don't see me, I think. But I'm a board member of the Women's Resource Center, and I'm retired. We live out in the southern part of Warren County, next to the George Washington National Forest. And thank goodness the cicadas are done. We've had quite the noise here because of the forest, but they seem to be gone. And anyway, just enjoying a gorgeous day out here.
It is, I have to say, Lee, I was a little bummed to like have to walk inside. I'm like, oh, it's so nice. So we'll take it. All right. Well, I am going to introduce Patty Fadeley, who is the community provider liaison. And she is with Blue Ridge Hospice, as you know, and I think you've been there 4 years. She has actually quite a long history of working with seniors, and so my guess is this was a real natural fit. I know she loves her job, and I love having her. So I'm not going to spend too much time. She can tell you so much more about herself than I can, and of course, Blue Ridge Hospice, which is an amazing organization. I think it's probably touched all of our lives here, and it continues to. So take it away, Patty.
Thank you, Miss Barbara. It's so good to see everyone. Susan, guess where I am? Can you tell from the background? Any ideas? I'm in the Woodstock pod because I have 4 large dogs, 1 small, 1 medium, 2 large that would probably bark through the whole session. So anyway, I'm really pleased to be here. As Barbara said, I have been with Blue Ridge Hospice. It'll be 4 years this July. It has been a blessing for me to be part of this amazingly phenomenal not-for-profit organization. I do miss you, Susan, miss working with you. I know it's great to be retired, but I'm so glad that you're volunteering for us. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hope that this goes well, because I've never done an actual presentation on my own, but here goes. Thank you for the thumbs up. We are celebrating 40 years of being your not-for-profit hospice. That's a big milestone for us. And of course, now I'm not able to click to the right. Of course, that was going to happen, Barbara. I'm trying to get it to go to the next. You know what I'll do? I'm going to try something else. Bear with me, guys. Again, I'll pick from a different section. Let's do this and do slideshow and see if that works better. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. From the beginning, resume slideshow. Well, crud.
Can you, hit that.
Okay. All right, here we go, guys. Susan, I'm not going to tell you anything you probably don't already know, but I will tell you that hospice started, oh my goodness, as you can see, back in 1948, Dame Cicely Saunders actually founded that, and she specialized in that field of caring for those folks that are in their last days. And she founded St. Christopher's Hospice back at that time. It was the very first contemporary hospice in London. So her theory is to take care of folks in their final days through an approach dealing with pain that addresses physical, spiritual, psychological, and emotional, with as well as social approach. And it really is important to think about all of those approaches from a holistic standpoint to help folks that are facing end of life stages. Next. Our founder is Helen Z. Barth. She and Gail Rogers founded Blue Ridge Hospice in 1981. Back when you all probably remember hospice helping folks that really just had cancer issues. That was what people thought hospice was about. It wasn't about caring for those that had liver failure, any types of Alzheimer's. It is for anybody that is facing an end of life diagnosis. And we have been the only not-profit. I think we're supposed to be called not-for-profit now, and I keep getting mixed up on those words, but we are considered not-for-profit. And we serve Winchester, Frederick County, Warren, Shenandoah, Page, Clark, and Western Loudoun counties. Our mission, let's see, I want to minimize these pictures. Our mission is to make quality of life care available to individuals and families that are facing illness. We want to support anyone in the community that's affected by death, dying, and loss. And when I say that, folks, we also take care of folks for grief support that have sustained a recent loss that really, they need that grief counseling. You do not have to be on our service to qualify for grief support. If you know of anyone, and when I say this, loss is loss, I mean that wholeheartedly. If you have friends that have lost a pet, even possibly lost a job, our grief counselors can help them process the loss. And if there's further intervention that needs to be dealt with, then they will refer them to someone who can help them. But we want to help those in our community that have any type of loss whatsoever. Our philosophy, it's a simple thing. Final stages of a person's life should be lived with the greatest degree of comfort, dignity, and control. I think everybody believes that. We encourage our patients to be in control of their own lives, and we meet the patients and the family where they are, whether it is in their homes, in an assisted living, a skilled nursing facility, whether it is in a tent. We will meet them where they are. We will help them with their end of life needs. And we do believe that death is a natural process, should not be hastened or postponed. We believe that with every fiber of my being. I have to say that to folks, because there is those folks that believe that we tend to hasten death, and that's not the case at all. With regards to how we accept payment, if you are 65 or older, you have Medicare, that will cover it. If you have Medicaid, that's also an option. Private insurance will pay. I encourage you all to check your insurance to find out if you do have hospice care included in your health insurance, because I think that's vital. And most insurances carry that, but it's a question for you to be able to ask your health insurance provider as to is this something that you would provide if I or my family member needed hospice care. Self-pay will obviously, patient care funds, patients are not denied services because of an inability to pay. We rely on our 8 thrift stores to help us care for those patients that require the patient care funds. So anytime you visit a Blue Ridge Hospice thrift store, first of all, thank you for your donations. Thank you for patronizing the store. We are helping those folks that do not have any of the above Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, or their own money to pay for hospice. And that sets us apart from other hospices, to be honest with you, because of the fact that we have the ability to care for those that can't pay for hospice on their own. Our interdisciplinary team starts, it includes your case manager. I've lost my sheet, bear with me. Your LPNs, social worker, certified nursing assistant, which by the way, this week is Nursing Assistants Week. If you know anybody that is a CNA or a caregiver in a facility or helping out anyone individually, thank them for their service and what they're doing. It's very special. We also have physicians, chaplains such as Susan, music therapy, volunteers, grief and loss. So the case manager, the very first person is typically it is an RN. We are required to have an RN to meet Medicare standards and also Joint Commission to be able to provide and manage that care of that patient. And everyone else falls underneath that care manager and helping with the interdisciplinary team. Our clinical services department, if you were to ever need hospice, 313-9200. That is an easy number to remember. You would call and ask for intake. Those precious ladies would then pass this information on to the nurses, and they would guide the nursing assistants, social workers, the entire interdisciplinary team, including our music therapists, on-call, our ICC, grief and loss team. It is all guided from the very first phone call to our intake. And that phone call is going to have a lot of information taken at the very get-go. I need you also to understand that anybody can refer to hospice. You do not have to be a physician to refer. You could call us up if you have a loved one or a friend that you feel would possibly benefit from our services. And from there, the intake department would send out a nurse to do an assessment. That nurse would then call the doctor to get the final orders to be able to place that patient or that person on our services. And as I said, who can make a referral? Anyone. Patient, family member, friend, physician, hospital, nursing home. Anyone could call and make the referral. And I think, again, that's information that needs to get out there to people because they're very hesitant to call us thinking that it's going to require a doctor's order right off the bat. But if you know someone that is in need, please give us a call and we'll do what we can to send out a nurse to do an assessment. So every patient is assigned an RN, as I said, case manager at the very beginning. That case manager makes visits to the patient based on what their needs are. There is a requirement of a visit every 14 days. That doesn't mean that that's the only time that the nurse will go out. There might be times, and we find as patients near the end of their lives, we send our nurses out more and more the last weeks of life, and they might even visit once a day if there's a need, as well as a CNA coming 2 to 3 times a week. As it says, visit frequencies based on the acuity and the need will increase or decrease accordingly. The minimal number of visits to maintain regulatory compliance obviously is once every 2 weeks, but again, we're out there way more than once every 2 weeks. And we're currently caring for approximately 217 patients on our service as of today. The care manager responsibilities, basically they assess the patient family needs during the visit. They make recommended changes to the care plan. They have to communicate with all the members on the team. Again, you saw the team that I shared with you earlier. They are the nurse managers in charge of getting that information to the interdisciplinary team. They have the responsibility of initiating oversight for the plan of care, ensures that the med list and orders are entered at bedside and maintained and up to date. And they also, when we partner with our facilities, they have to match with the facilities plan of care as well. They have the responsibility of supervision for all the CNAs. And as I said, they're required to visit at least once every 2 weeks, but we find that our CNAs visit at least 2 to 3 times a week. So we do way above what Medicare requires us to do. The CNAs are assigned to patients based on their need, and they take care of them as far as their hygiene is concerned. They're going to help give them a bath. They're going to brush their hair, help them brush their teeth, help them get dressed. They average, as this says, 2 to 3 a week. And they usually are joined by another CNA if there's a need, especially in the facilities. If we have somebody that we consider possibly a 2-person assist, we will take the load as opposed to having the facility bring in one of their caregivers because they're in need of taking care of their other residents as well. And anybody has any questions, please let me know as we're going along. I definitely don't want to continue on if there's something that you want to touch base on. Let's see. Again, the certified nursing assistants, they communicate with all the members. I'm trying to think of what I haven't touched base on. May not change their tasks without communication with the case manager. The CNAs spend most of the time with the patients and are often the first to notice the change in status. And then they communicate with the case manager. We also have team meetings weekly. Right now they're meeting on Zoom, or I should call it Microsoft Teams. And every single patient is discussed as far as what has transitioned, what their needs are, and what the next plan is to help them in their process. Social workers are assigned to every patient as well. They're going to provide the counseling services, education. They're going to help the families decide on funerals arrangements. They're going to just facilitate that advanced directive portion, end of life planning, and I can tell you that they are worth their weight in gold. They will go above and beyond with resources for each of our patients as well as their family members. And our chaplains are phenomenal. We miss Susan. They're requested by the patient, the caregiver. It just depends on if there is somebody already in place that's coming to visit the patient. They frequently offer additional services with funeral arrangements, and they will attend the funeral. They'll speak at the funeral if need be. They're also required to meet at team meetings as well. And I think the chaplains do way more than what we're seeing in this slide. They're there for emotional comfort too, for spiritual emotional comfort for the families. And they help with any of the memorial services that maybe our facilities might have. And we've sustained so much loss over the past year because of COVID. So we're starting to see memorial services pop up in our partnering assisted living and skilled nursing facilities. Music therapy is key in helping a patient with pain control, with any kind of symptom management, but also with reminiscing as well. And we are the only hospice that has music therapy available to the patients. The other, I think there's another not-for-profit out in Loudoun. There's several down in Harrisonburg. None of them offer music therapy. We have to pay for music therapists on our own. So again, these thrift stores and these different events that we hold, such as One More Song that's coming up on July 11th, these are where we've raised money to help keep our music therapy going, our program going. They're going to assist, as I said, with the symptom management. And I have seen a patient's heart rate go from just tachycardic down to where it is normal because of a simple strumming of a guitar. The music therapist might even sit in the corner of the room with his or her back to the patient, listening for the patient's heartbeat, slowly strumming the guitar. And as that patient hears that tune, the heart rate starts to go down to normal paces. It is an amazing thing to witness. They will also sing and help the families reminisce on the favorite songs of the patient. It really does help with just with life memories and trying to help that patient find the path and to understand, help the family understand better where the patient's at. And that the reminiscing is a beautiful situation. But when these music therapists write a song for the patient, about the patient, it is life-changing. And it is very much a therapeutic technique. They're not performers, they are considered therapists. Our volunteers are vital for the success of our organization. We have a few hundred of them right now. We're always looking for more volunteers if anyone is ever interested. We use pet therapy as well, and those folks are volunteers. We utilize them in our ICC, which is, it's at Cork Street, in our Cork Street building, and it is used for general inpatient services for folks that don't have anywhere else to maybe pass, and they possibly need symptom management or symptom control. Our volunteers are used for running errands for our patients, for helping with our events that we have coming up. So we have a wide range of opportunities for volunteers, as well as using them in our offices as well. Grief and loss. Oops, sorry. Okay, so here we go. How do I go back to where I was? Let's see. Let me just go back to grief and loss. As I said, we offer grief and loss for folks that are not necessarily part of our services. It's important to know if you have a grief need or a grief and loss need, contact our main office, ask to speak with the grief support counselor, and they'll help you in any way that they can. I tripped over a couple slides, but I do want to try to finish up and talk about our inpatient care center, which we opened in October 2004. First licensed hospice assisted living facility in Virginia, currently licensed through the Department of Health as a hospice inpatient facility. And as I said, we provide levels of care. RHC stands for routine home care. GIP stands for general inpatient. And then we also offer respite care for families that might just need maybe a week to where they can just recenter and know that their family member is being cared for appropriately. Let's see what I missed. The on-call team. You can call Blue Ridge Hospice 24 hours a day and be ensured that your loved one will be taken care of. Our on-call nurses will make a visit, obviously at the time of death, to pronounce the patient. They also provide support and assistance to the family or the assisted living or skilled nursing facility. They're responsible for home patients and must have excellent assessment and problem-solving skills, because you never know what you're going to run into at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's an essential, difficult, and very important job in hospice. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I went through that. Our routine home care is at the cost of $350 a day. And this is not a service covered by Medicare. You are receiving 24-hour-a-day care, as opposed to when you're receiving hospice services in your home. You'll have a nurse come once, twice a week if needed. You'll have a CNA 2 times a week, maybe 3 times a week. The social worker is available to you. Music therapist might come visit once a week. The chaplain might come once a week. But when you're in our ICC, you are cared for 24 hours a day. So the cost of $350 a day is to help for those nursing services. But again, we have patient care funds for those folks that cannot afford to stay in the ICC, and another essential need for patients that just don't have the money to pay for hospice services or for the ICC. I jumped right to it, didn't I? Let's go back to where it is. Somebody's gonna have to teach me how to do this better, guys. Well, let's find out if y'all have any questions. Let me stop the share and let's get everybody up and find out what questions you all might have for me related to hospice and our services.
I do have a question. I had no idea you had an inpatient assisted living facility. How does that work? Where is it?
Well, it's not it's kind of run as such, but it's an ICC. So we will do respite care in assisted living facilities if need be. We contract with several of them. So if there is a need, we can have a loved one take their family member to that assisted living facility, and then we will care for that patient with the help of the assisted living facility from time to time. We don't have our own assisted living. We have the ICC, and then we partner with those.
But it seems to me $350 is not that expensive for what you're talking about. If I remember, I think I had to do that for my mom. And
did you? Yeah.
It was, yeah.
It it can be exorbitant for folks that don't have that money.
Right.
That's when we ask that the social worker steps in. They ask the family member to fill out the application. We're not going to review everything. We're going to take them for what they're telling us that they have as far as funds. There's not a lot of research done with it other than understanding where they are and trying to help them. As a not-for-profit, I think that sets us apart from others because we want to do what we can for our community. And we want to make sure that we're offering the best services for our patients. Anyone else? Susan doesn't have any questions. She probably do this way better. This is the first time that I have actually done this particular in-service. I usually do one called Care of the Dying Patient that I have memorized. And Anthony sent this to me yesterday and I had to do a quick review. And I'm just trying to get familiar with a little more with this as opposed to what's already in my head. But as you know, our thrift stores thrive. And if it wasn't for folks like you all, Barbara, I know you've donated some things to the thrift stores. We really do count on those donations to make a difference, to help our patients and to keep our music therapy department going. And just in general, it is what keeps us going.
I have a question about the thrift stores. How did you survive during the pandemic with those stores?
We went virtual. We turned everything into a Facebook auction. We sold a lot of items on Facebook. We had to get creative. And we did lose a lot of money. I mean, there were months that went by that there were very few sales, but even though they were online, it wasn't as impactful as when we had the stores open. So when things did start opening up, I want to say maybe it was at last March, April. I remember being asked, because I wasn't able to make marketing visits. So I was asked to be the front, I called myself the front door Nazi, the mask Nazi. I had to be the person at the very front of the store, ensuring that everybody was mask compliant. And there were quite a few resisting folks, but because we have nurses and staff members that come in and shop for their patients, we had to keep compliant. And we are considered a medical organization. So CDC required it, and it was tough going for the first couple of months, but then people got used to it. But during that time of not being open, oh my goodness, it took everything we had to try to maintain sales online as best we could. And the auctions were a great way of doing it.
I have a question, Patty.
Yes, ma'am.
We love Camp Hope. And as a school nurse, I saw how many children are bereaved just in my little school. And then trying to get that information out, I always felt like I guess I didn't really connect with people. I told our guidance counselors, I told all the other nurses at all the other schools in our county. I'm in Warren County. And, I've told the director of special services, but I feel like they don't remember. And I just wonder how we can keep that message going. I know we had someone, I don't think it was you, I think it might've been, is it Christina, that came and talked to our church one time. Yeah. So, but how do we get that information out so people kind of have it in their forefront when there is a child that's bereaved, especially newly bereaved?
It's my goal to get to as many churches as I can and try to schedule. So if you know of anything, Kathy, please send it my way. I'll make sure, I'll give my email in the chat, but when Camp Hope came around, there's 2 liaisons now. There used to be 3, but since COVID, we're down to just Justine. She has the same name as I do, Justine Fadeley, and then me. We canvassed our area as much as we could to get to the school counselors to let them know what we were offering. I actually went to the superintendent of schools for Shenandoah County to make sure that they knew, and they allowed me an opportunity to speak with the counselors. I think we brought in probably brought in a grief counselor. I want to say maybe Susanna Callie was with me that day. This was 2 years ago. Obviously, we didn't have Camp Hope last year. We're not going to have it this year, but we will next year. That'll be a big focus. We're doing something called Kaleidoscope right now, which I'm happy
Yes.
to, if you'd like to get the flyer about that, I'm happy to get it your way. Again, as a liaison and just two of us, we're doing everything we can to get the word out about what grief support is all about for us. And the fact that children do grieve, and they need the resources. So with this Kaleidoscope program, I didn't bring a flyer in with me, it is reaching that population.
I know that you have one this evening, I believe.
Probably.
Are you having them routinely?
Pretty consistently.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mhm.
And can you get that information off your website?
You should be able to, blueridgehospice.org. If need be, I'm certain I'll put my email in the chat and I'll get that to you personally if you would like that information sent directly to you so you could pass it along. But Camp Hope is life-changing. It is,
Yes.
we've seen these kids that have gone from just being inward, and then they turn into these butterflies at the end of the event because they are able to process their grief with somebody. Maybe somebody individually can take them aside and talk to them, or just being with these other kids that are going through the same thing they're going makes a big difference to them.
Yes.
And to commiserate with them is special, and not having it for 2 years really broke my heart, but we just have to wait it out and know that next year is going to be bigger and better than ever.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Good question.
I know Melina really loved it, and
Good.
she
Good.
did not want to be there when we took her. She was so angry, and when we came back to pick her up, she was like, "Thank you for letting me come." It's like we just about had to abduct you. But
Yeah, they're very apprehensive at first. They don't understand what's getting ready to happen, and they don't want to talk about their grief. That's not something that is going to make them happy. But then once they're able to process it as a child, the way that they should process it, through arts and crafts, through music, through acting out, and then the big fireworks display at the end, it just really, what they do for these kids is just amazing.
it is.
And
And we thank you so much.
Program, there's not a dry eye at the very end in our closing services. It's beautiful. I'm glad that, and this is your daughter,
She's now our daughter. She's our granddaughter that we've adopted. Yes, and she's 11, and she has just blossomed, like you said. And our eyes are never dry thinking about it.
I'm sure. Well, keep us in mind if there's ever a need. We're happy to help.
Thank you.
For sure. Mhm. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm just so grateful to be able to speak to you all today on what we do and what I take pride in doing. It's changed my life because I've had to use it personally. And I can tell you that after you lose a loved one, we will be with you for 13 months following the death of your loved one. That doesn't mean that we're going to drop you like a hot pancake there at the end. We're going to always be there for you, but you're going to receive subtle letters. You're going to receive emails, maybe a phone call here and there, just to make sure that you know that somebody cares. And if you need to talk to that person, they're there for you. And it's impactful, and it's so needed in this community. Also, we've had suicides in Shenandoah County recently, and we've had our grief counselors reach out to the schools about that. So if you all ever hear of any needs like that, please call the main number and ask to speak with somebody and see if they could take care of whatever that need is. And the one thing I didn't talk about was the butterfly need. I think I skipped right by that slide. When we have a patient in the ICC that passes away, there is a subtle announcement made. Our offices are directly across the hall from our ICC. So an announcement is made so everybody's aware that a patient has passed. Whoever can join will go over to the ICC, we'll grab a little candle, one of the little battery operated candles, and we'll line the hall waiting for the funeral home to come and take the body. And we pay our respects in that respect. And we also, if there is a veteran, we will line the casket or line, not the casket, line the bed. And make sure that they have the best send off that they ever could possibly ask for. So it's important to us to have that constant show of respect and making sure that families know that we're there for them. And again, never a dry eye whenever you're having to witness one of those. It's beautiful and horrible at the same time. Does that make any sense? Susan, I know you know what I'm talking about. It's sad to say goodbye, but it's such a beautiful thing to be able to witness a smooth transition, a nice calm passing, knowing that that person is no longer in pain. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. I'm putting my email in right now for you all.
Good. Yeah, and you know, the nice thing about Zoom, well, we live stream it to Facebook, so it's out there. So we just, you know, hope that it keeps, the message keeps going.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm
Because
grateful.
a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people have no idea
That's true.
of what's available.
That's my goal, is to be able to get the word out as much as possible and to share with everybody that anyone can refer. That's the one thing that I share over and over. Folks are just apprehensive to even recommend to us. And then there's those people that feel strongly about, oh, my loved one, I really want them to continue receiving the benefits of chemo or a dialysis, and we respect that. We want to be able to give information when they are ready to come to us if there's a need. But hopefully we'll be going to palliative care. Susan, I'm not sure if you know that or not, but we're working on bringing in palliative care into our program so that folks that are still receiving these kind of services, chemo, radiation, dialysis, any type of therapy in that respect, they'll be able to be in a palliative program and be getting symptom relief. And then once they're ready to think about quality of life, then it transfers right over into hospice. So we're looking for the first end of the year, beginning of the year, to have that rolled out officially.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Well, if there's no other questions, I guess I will just thank everybody for watching. This is actually our last networking for the summer, but we'll start up in August. I think we're going to have Nikki Foster in August, and she'll start telling us what's happening in the town. You know, as I'm sure there'll be lots of changes. They keep rolling them out as we go along. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And there's lots of other things that will be coming up in the fall. We'll hit the ground running. The biggest will be, we're going to be celebrating our 25th anniversary. We're going to do that in September. So look for that, because we'd love to have everyone join us for that. And then we are really looking forward to our yard sale in October. So if you're like me and things are piling up faster than you can even think about, keep piling. So we're going to be doing that, and hopefully we'll all be seeing each other's faces, and we'll be opening up, and seeing each other one-on-one in a safe way, So, but thank you all for joining. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Good seeing you all. Good seeing you, Susan.
You too, Patty. Great job. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.